So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Agents of Hope monthly series, our seminar, Attain Your Hopes and Dreams. We have two wonderful speakers that are here to present to you this evening, as well as our vendors. We have Yolanda with Mary Kay, and we have Latrice with Tricey's Treats. Have you guys been over there? She's got some goodies on her table. How is everyone this evening? Good? Okay, good. All right. So the first speaker that's going to come up is Lance Petway. Lance Petway is going to talk to you about credit. Sometimes you may need to do some credit restoration, or you may be looking to start a business, and he can kind of guide you and give you the steps that you need to get your credit straight and maybe even start your business.
How's everybody doing today? I was told I have to keep this exactly in front of my mouth, so if I tend to do that, just someone give me a push up, please. So I want to first of all thank everyone for coming out tonight, and also for Angelita for inviting me to talk as well too. This subject that I'm going to speak on is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I'll tell you why. I graduated from Eastern Michigan University in '92. From there, I went to University of Michigan for a master's. High school, I went to a private high school, and during all that time, not once did I have a class that talked about personal finance. You know, why saving is important, why credit is important, what is credit used for, what is an IRA, what does an IRA even stand for? You know, everything I was taught from my parents, and thank God I had parents that were educators that had me started saving at a young age. When I graduated college, I became a mortgage banker. So that's all I did was I dealt with credit and I dealt with tax returns. And through my years, I can't tell you how many people that I had to turn away because I couldn't help them because of credit. They would come in and they may needed to move to a new house because of a school district they wanted to get their kids into. They maybe wanted to get out of a certain area that was becoming dangerous and they were starting a family and I couldn't help them. Well, it was difficult for me to not be able to help them. And in 2008 and 2009, when that recession hit, you know, it hurt a lot of people, including myself. You know, family, friends, loved ones, clients that had great houses, had great jobs, and lost one or lost both. So what I had started doing was I was getting to the point where when someone was coming to my office, coming to the bank to qualify for a house and I couldn't help them because of their credit, I started paying it forward. I started doing classes after banking hours in the bank to help people with their credit, you know, explaining them what they need to do. Well, believe it or not, the bank that I was with at the time, they didn't like that I was doing that. They wanted me to concentrate on people that could get a mortgage now, not helping them to get it down the road. So it came to a kind of a crossing point in my life where I could no longer just turn those people away. So I became in contact with the owners of United Credit, which is right here in Farmington Hills. They're a nonprofit company, and I'd start sending my clients to them. And long story short, people that were coming to me with 500, 550 credit scores, 3, 6, 9 months later, they were coming back to me with 700 plus credit scores. Bankruptcy removed, tax liens removed, student loan late payments gone, charge-offs, foreclosures, judgments taken off their credit report for about 80, I'd say at least 80% of them. Well, I myself, I was a big real estate investor. I had a lot of houses. Well, those homes, when 2008 and 2009 ended, those homes that I owed 100 to 125,000 on were now worth about 30 or 40,000. Those homes that I was paying 850 to 900 a month on, I was only getting rent, maybe 700, 750. So not only was I upside down in the value, I was upside down in the monthly payments. I'm paying money out of my pocket to keep these houses. Not something I intended for, obviously, when I bought them. So I went to the banks and I said, hey, you know, and most of the mortgages were at the bank where I worked for 5, 6, 7 years at the time. And I asked them, I said, hey, I need some relief. You know, we have the HEART program. I'm sure some of you have heard of that. Well, the problem is that they were investment properties. They weren't my primary home, so they couldn't help me. I had paid on time all those years, you know, had insurance on them, everything, but they couldn't help me. So you know what I had to do? I had to short sell some of them, and the ones I couldn't short sell, I had to let go. So I had a 533 credit score when I enrolled in the services to get my credit fixed. 6.5 months later, I was at a 722. They had took off my short sales, they took off my judgments, they took off a bankruptcy that I had, because at that time, banks were coming back at you for the deficiency in the short sale. So I carry this with like a badge of honor with me wherever I go. I've got proof. It shows what my credit score was. It shows what was on there. That was in, I think, November of 2012, and in February 2014 or March 2013, I'm sorry, all it was removed. As of 2 months ago, I was at a 786. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because credit is so important nowadays. A lot of people think credit is just for buying a house, and that can't be further from the truth. Credit is used for things like if you go and get cable. I believe it's Bright House, AT&T, and Comcast. If you don't have a 620 or 650 credit score, you have to give them a $500 deposit, $300 to $500 deposit just to get cable. DTE now pulls your credit score. Let's say we're neighbors. We have the same house, same square footage. We use the same electricity. I've got a 550 credit score. You have a 750 credit score. Guess what? I'm going to pay more in utility bills because of my credit score. Obviously, we know credit cards have are tied to your credit score. You know, between having a 0% interest rate to a 15% interest rate. A lot of employers now, 65% of the employers as of last year now pull your credit score to see if you're credit worthy. It doesn't matter what kind of education you have or your background. I had a tenant, she's a RN, a registered nurse at Beaumont Hospital. She's a new tenant. She had gone through a divorce. Well, during that divorce, her credit, got compromised, got messed up. Well, because of the divorce, she went to, it was either Babies R Us or Toys R Us, one of the two. But she had a 550 credit score, somewhere right around there. Do you know that this RN, who's a nurse, someone that is in charge of saving our lives, did not get that job at Babies R Us or at Toys R Us because of her credit score? See, the computers don't care about why you got there. They don't have any feelings. It's just based on what's on there. So how are these credit scores determined? Well, there's 5 things that determine your credit score. A lot of people think it's just one, how you pay your bills, and that can't be further from the truth. 35% is how you pay your bills that you're paying on time. 35%. 30% is the utilization of your revolving credit. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you have a credit card, MasterCard, a Visa, $1,000 credit limits on each of them. Let's say you've had them for 5, 6, 7 years and never been late on them. Perfect. But the balances on them are, say, $800, $900. One is over the credit limit. Do you know that that affects your score more than a late payment? Because it shows that the computer's saying this, that you don't have the fiscal responsibility to keep that credit limit within check. It shows you're a high credit user. If you want the best score for that 30%, you want to keep your credit cards at 30% or less of the credit limit. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, you want to keep that at $300 or less. You don't want to pay it off. You keep it between $25 and $300. But keeping it at that 30% is going to give you the best bang in that section. So we've got 35% is how you pay your bills. 30% is the utilization of your revolving credit. The third one people are shocked at is the type of credit that you have. So you've got your major credit cards. You've got Visa, Discover, MasterCard, and American Express. So let's say that you all have those credit cards. But then I have a Macy's, a Home Depot, a Mobile, whatever other department store you can think of. You could have late payments on those Visas and MasterCards, and I could be perfect on paying mine. Do you know that my score is going to be lower than yours? The reason being is I have finance accounts. I don't have a major credit card. See that Mobile, that Target, that uh, Macy's, they all have high interest rates. Whether you pay them off or not, if you look at your bill, it's between 25 and 35%. So the computer sees that these are some high interest rate credit cards, and if, God forbid, something was to happen where you lost income or you lost your job, whatever the case may be, and you have bills on that or have balances on that, that it's going to take you, it's going to be a lot of interest in order for you to pay it off. So having a major credit cards are way better than having the department store bills. Not saying that you can't have any, but if you got 5 or 6 department store bills and one credit card, that's going to significantly hurt your credit score. So that's the third one. The fourth one is the obvious one, the length of credit that you have. You know, having at least some trade lines with at least 2 years worth or more is real important because the computer can see how you paid over those 2 years. This affects mainly people that either are coming out of college that don't have much debt, people coming to our country that don't have any debt, or, you know, there's still a lot of people that just pay cash for everything and they have no credit. So that what mainly hurts those type of people. So you want to have at least 2 or 3 trade lines with at least 2 years worth of history on it. The last one, which is 5% of your credit score, is inquiries. You know, how many inquiries or how many people are pulling your credit? You know, this used to hurt a lot of people back in the day. I'm sure they still have it, but when it first came out where they had those zero interest credit cards if you transfer balances over. So people played that game of, you know, getting that credit card and 6 months later getting another 0% transferring over, you know, never really paying it down, but just keeping that zero interest. Well, eventually, that third or fourth or fifth inquiry, they won't get approved because the credit bureaus, or the credit cards, they look at that. They know they're not going to make any money off of you, so they won't approve you, no matter what your credit score is. Then all of a sudden, you know, 2-3 months later, now you're being charged interest on that entire balance. So those are the 5 things that determine your credit score. Now, there's 3 credit bureaus. There's Equifax, there's TransUnion, and there's Experian. A lot of people think these are government-held companies. The fact is, these are billion dollar companies. Only one of them's in the U.S., I believe TransUnion down in Dallas, Texas. The other 2 are out of the country. But what they do is they make their money off of when a bank or a mortgage company, a jewelry store, an automobile company goes and pulls your credit, they have to pay. So they generally pay $25 for an individual, $50 if it's joint for a couple. So imagine how much credit is pulled every day, how much money they make, billions and billions of dollars. So what their job isn't to verify that what they receive is correct. Their job is just to report whatever they're given. You know, you'd be amazed if there's a website called annualcreditreport.com. It's a government website that came about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. 100% absolutely free. You don't have to put any credit card information in there. Put your email in there. Every year it'll send you an email saying, hey, time to pull your credit report again. I encourage you to pull your credit report. Kind of stagger it out. Instead of pulling all 3 at one time, pull one every 3-4 months. And if you haven't looked at your credit report in a while, you'd be amazed at how much erroneous, old, and obsolete things are on there. I had a lady last week who had a bankruptcy from 2002 that was still on her credit report. She had no idea that it was still on there. She was getting a car, but she was putting 20% down on a car and paying 12-13% in interest rate because of that bankruptcy was holding down her credit score. You know, a lot of these places where you see, I know I'm jumping around, but just thinking about clients that I talked to recently, you know, a lot of people think that there's nothing that they can do, that their score is their score. It is what it is. But there's something called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and that Fair Credit Reporting Act is mainly what we use to help get these things off your credit report. So going back to the credit and why it's important, so with this lady, she had gotten a car. She went in looking for a 2014 car, but she could only get approved for $10,000. So she ended up getting an older car. She ended up having to put 10% down, so she had to put up $1,000 down, and her payments are $400 a month at a 12.5% interest rate. If she gets her credit score up to 750, she could get at least a $20,000 car, probably pay less than $400 and put 0% down. Think about how much credit costs if you don't have great credit. It's a huge difference. Your homeowner's insurance is tied to, I believe 60% of it is tied to your credit score. So I run into a lot of people say, oh, I don't need my credit fixed. I pay cash for everything. You have homeowner's insurance, right? Yeah, well, what are you paying? Oh, I pay, $200 a month. So they're paying $2,400 a year where their interest, or where it could be $800 a year. So don't let it fool you. Don't let people fool you when they say they don't need credit. You definitely need credit in order to make a difference. Well, one of the startling statistics that we run into as far as credit is that, a lot of our young people follow in those footsteps where they don't take care of their credit like they should. One of the things when I was in college, I'm sure you've all have seen it, where they've got the credit card stand and, hey, get a free T-shirt by signing up for this credit card. I had about 4 or 5 credit cards coming out of college. I had a lot of T-shirts, a lot of T-shirts. But this is where people get into a lot of trouble, because they get these credit cards. Our young people get these credit cards, and they'll say it's a $1,000 credit limit. They charge it up. They only have to pay $20, $25 a month. They're thinking this is great. But little do they know that $25, only about $1 or $2 is going off their credit card balance. So one of the things that we do, and this just goes to show you how confident I am in what my company does for our clients, I kind of pay it forward, in that I've set up a program in a company where, again, I like to use examples. We had a lady with a 489 credit score. She wanted to get into a house. Unfortunately, her husband had passed away. He handled all the finances, and she really, outside of the old bad credit she had, she really didn't have any credit at all. So what we do is we go and we'll buy the house for that individual. We buy the house for them and put them in the credit restoration, and then we sell them the house on a lease option. Another word is a rent-to-own. So we put them into the house with a 489 credit score, start getting their credit fixed, and then 3, 6, 9 months later, we're able to provide a mortgage for them to get them out of that lease option. In this lady's example, she was paying $900 a month on that lease option. When all is said and done, her principal, interest, tax, and insurance are going to be $601 a month. So almost $300 a month savings going up to that. Our goal is to get her to $750, but even if we just get her to a $680, that we're going to be able to refinance her out of that house, refinance her out of that rent-to-own. So credit is very important. Credit is important as far as businesses. People that are starting a business or establishing a business, when you start out, what are they going to look at? They're going to look at your personal finance. They want to see what you do individually before they even think about providing you with a line of credit, providing you with a loan, a business loan. So I encourage you, go to annualcreditreport.com. If you don't know what's on your credit, or you haven't seen it in a while, go to annualcreditreport.com, pull your credit score up, take a look at what's on there, and then from there, you'll know where you're at and what you need to get to. So are there any questions at this point? Yes, sir. Yes, for those that you didn't hear, he was saying that his kind of what I was talking about, that his car insurance was high. And the reason why his car insurance is high is because of his credit score, and he wanted to know what he could do. Well, credit scores range from 300 to 850. 300 on the low end, 850 on the high end. And in my 20 years in the banking business, not once did I see someone with the 850, did I see someone with a 300. What banks, what auto dealerships do, what jewelry stores do, what insurance companies do is they break that down. So real quick, between 750 and 850, think of like a student. That's an A+. You're an A+. 750, you're going to get the best of the best of the best of everything. Next is from 750 to 850, and then from 699 to 749, you're a B+, A- student. You're good. You're not great, but you're good. You're better than most. And then from there, it breaks down where you go from a C, D, or E student. So in your case with the 600 score, yes, because of this is how the insurance companies and the credit card companies make money. Because you don't have those higher scores, they're charging you those higher rates. So the first thing you need to do is find out what's causing you to be in the low 600 scores. And then based on that, what we do is we use the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So we dispute with the credit bureau and we dispute with the company to verify the validity of that account. You know, one of the best things is if they don't respond back to us within 30 days, it's automatically off your credit report. Fair Credit Reporting Act says that they have to respond to any dispute from a creditor within 30 days. So that's one of the first things we do. If they come back and say, no, this is your account, we want them to verify with us, well, what is the account number correct? Where's the application that I signed that I opened this up? You know, you put this on my credit report as a negative credit report. Did you go through the proper procedures per the Fair Credit Reporting Act to let me know that I had options on paying this bill, especially if it goes to a public record? And what a public record is versus just a creditor, a public record is like a bankruptcy, a short sale, a judgment, something that went through the courts that maybe you went to or you didn't go to, but you went to the court. So something on public record is going to have a lot bigger effect on your credit score than a late payment, than a charge off of a credit card. So again, to answer your question, you need to find out what's on there first. There could be some old things that are on there that should be gone, you know, that could easily be taken care of. But if you don't know, I mean, to answer your question, it just depends what's on the credit score. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. Student loans, that's a big subject right now because I'm seeing this more and more that student loans are on a lot of people's credit report and they don't report it just as one loan. So let's say you have a student loan for $1,000 and one for $3,000, one for $15,000, one for $30,000. When the credit bureau pulls your credit report, it looks like, man, this person is loaded up on credit. And a lot of them are in deferment. So when we talked about that revolving credit, 30% of your credit score, so you've got a student loan for $3,000 and it's still $3,000 owed, it does have an impact on your score. One of the things that I know that Sallie Mae, Department of Ed, and I believe one more, what they're doing now is they're allowing you to combine it all into one so that it's just one loan, and then they're working with the credit bureau so that if it is a student loan, that it doesn't factor into your score. If that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, I couldn't tell you, but unfortunately, you know, a lot of us that have the student loans, it hurts us coming out, whether it's deferred or not. You know, and especially when you have to go for financing and you have to show us deferred, you have to show us deferred over a certain period of time. So it does have effect on it, unfortunately. The one thing that we've done to help offset it is something that's real unique that we have is we've got a relationship with the credit bureaus where think of a homeowner. It's someone who's a homeowner and they have a mortgage. And as long as they're not 30 days late on that mortgage, it obviously is going to report on the credit report to show paid as agreed. Well, think of renters. A renter pays $500, $700, $1,000, $1,500 a month. They don't get the same advantage of having that payment on their credit report. Well, for our renters, not only can we add the rent to the credit report as a trade line to report as a rental mortgage payment, we can go back and add the last 2-year rental history to report as a trade line. So imagine the impact that's going to have right off the bat for some of our people before we even do anything revolving their credit. Now, obviously, we want to check to make sure they hadn't been late on their rent in that 2-year period. Otherwise, we won't go back as far. But with this program that we have, we don't need to have bank statements, cancel checks, or money orders. All we do is just verify with if it's a house, we verify with the owner that they've paid on time. If it's an apartment building like a Village Green, we just call the management company. So if you're a renter, that's a huge program that can help out tremendously for your credit score. Great. Well, I thank you for listening today. My card is on that information that I sent to you. That information just talks a little bit about how much good credit can make a difference as far as your bottom line. Did you have one question, sir? That's a great question. So the question was Credit Karma. You hear that a lot. Credit Karma. I hear it a lot. Credit Karma. You know, they say my score is at 700. Then they go in to a dealership or come into the office for a mortgage and their actual score is 500. There's Credit Karma that deals with credit scores, and then there's something I'm sure you heard of called FICO scores. FICO scores are used by the banks, most auto dealerships. You're going to get an RV loan, things of that nature. Credit Karma has a different software. There's different software that banks use versus a Credit Karma versus if you have a Chase credit card or if you're at a credit union, they'll say, hey, you can get your credit scores for free. They're not using the FICO score. They're using a credit score. And what the difference is a credit score is more based off just how you pay your credit card bills, how you pay those smaller bills, where a FICO score takes into account everything from your past history to your current history to your mortgage to your credit cards, everything involved. So Credit Karma is great because at least you can see what's on there, but as far as the credit score, if you're looking to, as far as financing or something like that, I wouldn't recommend that as a yardstick to use. So you're saying you pulled something from Credit Karma and they used the Credit Karma credit report for you? For what type of, if you don't mind, was it a car or? Okay, so it was a company. Yeah, see, some companies will do that because they just want your business. When I'm referring to that FICO score, I'm talking about the banks. I'm talking about the dealerships, a home equity loan, things of that nature. But some smaller companies like Wall-Side Windows, I believe, they'll use something like that. I'm not saying you can't depend on it. I'm just saying it's a different criteria. Like if you were going to go to a bank, that wouldn't be the score. It could be higher, it could be lower. But they just have a different software, a different criteria that they use. No, because what they're doing is they're pulling it internally. So it's not like you go to a bank and they pull your credit. So, every month you're not going to see Credit Karma pulling your credit score. You'll probably see it the one time and then that's it.